Welcome to Chat with Leaders. Our mission is to give resilient servant leaders a platform for sharing the inspiring things they're doing to lead themselves, their teams, and the communities they serve wisely. I'm today's host, Jeff Bond with Barry, where we deliver custom apps and cloud solutions. And I'm honored to welcome Evan Knox, founder of Caffeine Marketing and small business investor in Atlanta, Georgia. Welcome, Evan.
Hey, what's up, Jeff? Thanks for having me, man. I really appreciate it.
It is my pleasure. Thank you for your gift of time. Caffeine Marketing is a Storybrand certified guide plus digital market agency. Their mission is to grow companies that make people's lives better. I love your values too, Evan, that you are intentional about that, and particularly companies that say we put people first. So that was a great thing that I saw on your website. So check that out. Evan, I want to jump right in. Tell me a little bit more about Caffeine Marketing and just the impetus for you founding it and why you focus on kind of the small business sector.
Yeah, our goal is to make marketing profitable for small companies that are doing less than 50 million a year. And that really ties into my personal connection with my dad, and a little bit of back history with that is that my dad was a small business owner. So was my grandfather and his dad. So it's like kind of been a normal thing my whole life, which is cool. And about 4 years ago, my dad passed away, and I was working at a nonprofit and I was doing marketing. And I thought, you know what? My grandfather's about to retire. My dad's no longer with us, but I can help other small business owners like them to be successful and make marketing profitable. So that's why I decided to start Caffeine Marketing. And yeah, we typically, I like the smaller companies that honestly just remind me, even if it's like the CMO of that company, it just reminds me more of like my family. And I feel like we all want to have a little purpose in what we do. So it's good.
Tell me a little bit more about your dad and your grandfather's small business, what they did.
Yeah. So my grandfather owned a jewelry store in Atlanta, Georgia. It's called Knox Jewelers. It's a very original name. Their last name is Knox. And yeah, they had 3 stores at one point. By the time that I came along, they had downsized to 1. My dad owned a diamond company, so a diamond importing company. So he would sell to my grandfather as well as other jewelry stores. And so they were both in the jewelry industry. One was mainly B2B and one was B2C. But it was great. I mean, I would grow up going to the store on the weekends. And I remember my grandfather actually teaching me about marketing when I was a kid. I was like 12 years old. And I remember placing an ad in the Atlanta Symphony. And he would tell me, okay, we're going to put, this copy here. We're going to write this. And then most people forget to do this. And he would like just tell me these little lessons over time that really, I feel like were foundational to my interpersonal skills as well as like my business acumen, which was really helpful.
That's great. Well, I'm sure your dad's smiling down at you now and seeing the success you've had as a small business owner yourself. That's fantastic. Evan, tell me a little bit more about why you decided to become a certified Storybrand guide. I've always been interested in the ability to tell a good story in business, so I wanted to jump into that. And what is the significance of the principles of this Storybrand process and what it teaches?
Yeah. So for those who aren't familiar, Storybrand is a 7-part messaging framework created by this guy named Donald Miller that uses the 7 elements of story that screenwriters and storytellers have used for centuries and engages customers into a story. And kind of the main gist of it is that you're no longer the hero of your marketing message. You're actually the guide. And so you come alongside your clients and you say, hey, here's the thing that you want. Here's the problem that's getting in the way of that. This is how that makes you feel. And then here's what success looks like on the other side of working with us. So you're helping the hero be successful in this scenario. And then also letting them know what's at risk if they don't work with you. So I became a guide because I had used that framework. I was already familiar with Donald Miller and Storybrand, and I'd been using it for about a year. And I was really seeing really great results with it whenever we would use it for copywriting or a website or Facebook ads. And I really just believed in the framework, wanted to get trained in it, and also wanted to use it, I guess would have rights to use it as a guide. Because up to that point, I wouldn't say jerry-rigging it, but I was using an adaptation of it without being a certified guide. So I just want to get certified, pay my dues, I guess you could say.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it also kind of builds credibility and people are familiar with the Storybrand guide. So it probably helps you with your business and attracting new customers too, and it resonating with them. I've often found that a lot of businesses will talk about what they do and how they do it before they talk about why they do it or connecting with the the customer's emotions. So I think that's really relevant in today's world to be able to help small business owners kind of cross that boundary into something that's more meaningful and that helps them scale. What are some of the biggest mistakes that you found leaders in small businesses to be making these days in terms of their marketing?
So there's three that come to mind. One is something I mentioned earlier, which is being the hero of your own marketing messaging and not playing the role of the guide. So you want to think of yourself as like the Obi-Wan Kenobi or the Yoda of the Star Wars narrative, right? Like you're not the hero of it. You're there to, you already been there, done that. And you're going to help the hero win the day. Or Haymitch from the Hunger Games. Like you're going to help Katniss Everdeen win the day. So that's the first mistake most people make, is they make it all about themselves. And what that ends up doing is turning customers off, because customers aren't looking for another hero. They're actually looking for someone to help them win the day. And they're kind of the main character of their own narrative. So we just have to adapt to that as marketers and understand that. And we're going to actually be able to serve people better in that way. So that's the first thing. The second thing is not tracking. So I see a lot of business owners do this thing where they just throw money on the wall and hope something sticks. So they'll try a bunch of different campaigns. They hear that TikTok ads is the next thing, or they should be doing Facebook ads or posting a bunch on LinkedIn. And it's very, I don't want to say uneducated, because they're certainly trying, but it just feels sporadic. And it's not part of a bigger marketing funnel or a marketing strategy. And so you first need to understand what your marketing strategy is, and then you need to track conversions. And I really love to be able to tell my clients, hey, you spent this much on advertising. Here's how much you got in return. And not just how many clicks you got or how many impressions. That's fine. Those are, metrics to consider, but ultimately at the end of the day, I want my clients to be able to track their return on investment for their product. And then the last one is, I don't quite have a word for it yet. And again, I love real estate agents. We have an awesome one. We just bought a home. But for some reason, lawyers and real estate agents, I see this the most in, is like, it's almost like this lack of trust or unwillingness to invest back into the company. Or even if you've ever read the E-Myth, it's like the solo entrepreneur thing, where they just they think they can do everything the best. And so they don't trust other people. And so that's one of the biggest mistakes that I see small business owners making, is not letting somebody in to that inner circle, or enabling themselves to invest back into their company because they're worried about loss or worried about, somebody else not doing it perfect.
Right. Yeah, and it's understandable. I think a lot of people do start their own business because they want the freedom of ownership. They want to, have kind of that control over things, but giving up control and trusting in other people, it's a hard thing for founders and small business owners to do. And a lot of the times, like hiring proper leadership within your organization and being able to have either a dedicated marketing person or sales, director, VP. It's sometimes hard to be able to give up that control and not be in every single facet of the business, whereas maybe you can't serve each one of them equally. So all really good points. Evan, tell me a little bit more. We're going to shift here towards creating disciplines in our lives. And we talked a little bit earlier about, spiritual discipline, spiritual practice. I know you lead a small group. You're very involved in your church. But tell me how your disciplines, whether it be spiritual or just practical every single day, have been important to your personal and professional life to be able to feed into your leadership.
Yeah, absolutely. So my faith is, I would like to consider first and foremost as a priority in my life, along with my family. But this is kind of a flip side of the coin. In order to do that well, I need to sleep well. And I don't know, this is something that we talk about enough as, leaders, is that sleep is critically important for us to be successful, and also for our bodies to function properly. And so whenever we don't get enough sleep, cortisol builds up, we're stressed, buildup of cortisol, inhibits your frontal lobe, so you can't think clearly, and you also lack empathy for people. So sleep, I think, is a great foundation for all of the other disciplines. And so I think one of the most important disciplines is being able to first go to bed on time, get enough sleep, but also learning to maintain a healthy sleep. So I use this device called a Whoop, WHOOP, and it's like the only certified wearable to track your different types of sleep. And I know how much REM sleep I get every night, shortwave sleep, light sleep, and not sleep, or awake time. And I'm able to further, optimize my sleep to get more REM and shortwave sleep. We consider that restorative sleep. So I'm always trying to, whether that means putting blue light blocking glasses on, not eating before I go to bed, having no or little alcohol, anything like that, I think enables me to be more focused when I'm having that spiritual discipline of praying or reading the Bible or in the small group, being present, or meditation. Like if I'm just so tired, I'm not going to be able to get the most out of the meditation that I want to. Or when I'm working, if I don't have enough sleep, then I'm not going to be able to focus for as long. And then I also won't remember things, because what happens is during deep sleep or REM sleep, your short-term memories are converted into long-term memories, and you're able to, essentially remember stuff better and have better conversations the next day. So I would say, I think sleep is probably what I've learned is the most foundational alongside nutrition.
Yeah, Whoop. I'm gonna have to check that out. That sounds like a great tool for accountability for self to be able to
Yeah.
build that discipline into your life and measure it and be able to come back to that to know how well you're doing against it. So, there's enough in 2020 to actually keep us up at night. So that's becoming even harder during the pandemic and unrest and are we opening schools and businesses and all that? It's just been a crazy year. So we're in the midst of that now, Evan. If you're talking to leaders in general, which is our audience, what do you think is a strong call to action if you were to kind of summarize that in the here and now to say, how do we manage through this crisis? How do we lead ourselves wisely? How do we lead the teams and the communities we serve wisely? What would be one area of focus that you would advise them, Evan, that maybe you've been doing?
I think the answer is probably a little bit different for each person, but I think it starts with doing like baby steps or something to start. I think of it as a business. It can feel really overwhelming. So I'm a partner in, I think, like half a dozen companies at this point. And when we merge with a company, or when we become a partner in a company, it often can feel overwhelming by the amount of things that we have to do. Like it's just like there is just like 3 pages of Word documents of all these bullet points of just marketing things that we need to do. Not even saying operations or finance or anything like that, just marketing. What we have to do is break it into little bite-sized bits and eat an elephant one bite at a time, as my mom would say, which feels super weird because we're not, I would like to think I'm all for elephants not being eaten, but anyway, we get the point. So I think it looks like one small step, but I think a practical application is writing things down. So if I feel really overwhelmed by something, I like to just articulate that into a journal. And it could be just because I'm a male, that's hard for me to sometimes understand how I'm feeling and why I'm feeling certain ways. But I like to identify what's the feeling that I'm feeling right now. Okay, I'm feeling scared, I'm feeling anxious, overwhelmed, angry, whatever those are. I'll write those down. Why am I feeling that way? I'll jot some notes about that. And then often as a Enneagram 8, I don't like feeling out of control. So I also like to write down what can I control right now? And I'll write down all the things I can't control. And then I'll write down what can I control? And I'll write all the things that are outside my control. And then I'll pray about that and say, God, I'm going to trust you, because ultimately at the end of the day, you're the only thing that matters, at least to me. And so that's generally how I navigate through that. It's just one little baby step at a time. And I'm not expecting all of those feelings or emotions to go away, but I'm just going to take healthy steps at growing through that hard stuff.
And by the way, nobody's got to see that journal but you, right? It can be
Yeah.
for your eyes only, and it's okay to share your feelings. And you're not the first person to say that on the show either. So I think that there's a common theme there and some real truth of how cathartic it can be to write down your plans, your thoughts, reflect on them until you need to get it out of your head in order to data dump and to really digest that all and know what to do with it. So really well said. Evan, how would people learn more about caffeine marketing, get a hold of you to network?
Yeah, the easiest way is to either go to caffeine.marketing, so no.com, just caffeine.marketing, or evanknox.com. And I've also got a free guide on how to build a winning sales funnel. So if you're responsible for your marketing, it's like a Lego kit, basically, with a checklist to tell you how to build a marketing funnel.
Great. Well, we will be getting this show up on our YouTube channel within about a week. So we'd be very appreciative if you subscribed and you followed us on YouTube. We'll also get the show notes up on our website and the podcast up on Apple as well as other podcasts. But we'd be grateful if you would rate and share that with your friends. Evan, it's such a gift to talk to you. I love your energy, your spirit, your integrity as a leader. So thank you so much for sharing that gift with us this morning.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, Jeff.